Good Monday morning, everyone. Thanks for coming back again to my health journey. Hope you all had a great weekend. I'm going to get right into it because I have quite a bit to share with you this morning. I want to take us back about 12 years is really when this whole process began for me. I want to share some insights that I've discovered and that some changes that I've been able to make because of this, thinking back. You know, if we don't learn from the past, we're doomed to repeat it. So at least that's what I've seen in my life anyway. So kind of have to look back, see what you've learned, see what you can change, and do better, right? So if we know better, we can do better. So that's what I want to share with you today. So I have quite a bit of notes. So you're going to see me looking down a bit because I want to make sure that I cover everything that I thought. Okay? All right, here we go. So back in 2011, 2012 timeframe, my husband came across a podcast. And on this podcast was a guest who was talking about a book called The Rosedale Diet. And it's by Dr. Ron Rosedale. And this doctor was seeing a lot of good results with some of the ways he was encouraging people in their diets to change things in their diet in order to treat their disease. Diabetes, I know, was a big one. And I think there were others too. So we decided to buy the book and we read through it and decided to make some of the same changes in our diet. And I remember things like that exercise, if you want to do it, you can do it you only really need to do like 20 minutes a day, or even, and that's only if you want to, it's not totally necessary. And I found that odd because it's the first time I'd ever heard anything like that. So I have realized since then that that is not the case. Exercise is important. And just this morning, I listened to a video by Mike Mutzel from High Intensity Health. I'm going to link that video for you in the description of this video because it was just very timely. And he was talking about how important it is to build muscle. Building muscle is really, really important in our health, our overall health. And then how our body burns fat and all of that. So it is important, like I've been saying, to move your body. And interestingly enough, he said in his video, even if it's just a walk after dinner, apparently he and his family do it every night. They go on a walk after dinner. And I thought that was interesting because, you know, that's what we've started doing this month. By the way, I have met my goal. I reached 56 miles I've walked so far this month. But I think we're just going to keep going because it feels great and it's having great results, I know. So I'll link that video. But anyway, in this book, that's what he said. And of course, at the time, I was not in any type of routine, exercise routine, workout routine, nothing. So I was like, woohoo, I don't really have to exercise. Then he talked about eating mainly, you know, whole foods, low carb, low fat, low calorie, right? I lost about 25 pounds, give or take there. But then, I don't know, a year later, I want to say, the weight started coming back on. And I don't remember exactly if I just wasn't as strict after that year because I had lost, you know, I had gotten down to a healthy weight. And thought, okay, I've arrived. Now I can start adding in things, probably was my thinking, not exercising, and actually going through some pretty intense emotional, mental health type things. So none of that was a good scenario for me. And then the weight started coming back on. I did try to go back to the Rosedale Diet and stick strict to it, but it didn't seem to make any difference. The weight just kept going up. So I got frustrated with that and just quit. So around 2014, my weight had gotten up. So on that Rosedale diet, I got down to about 150 pounds. And around 2014, my weight had gone all the way up to about 200 pounds. So at the time, I asked my primary doctor to help me get on a plan. Because when you go, you get the printout of your doctor's visit, and it always says when you're overweight. I've never seen mine say just overweight. They put the word obesity on there. It's so discouraging and so deflating, and just, I'm like, I don't feel obese. I get why they do that. According to their standards, that's where I fall. So anyway, I was really serious about wanting to get healthier and get back down to a healthy weight. Well, the only advice that she had for me was calories in, calories out. If you take in more calories than you're burning, you're going to gain weight. And that's all she had for me. That was it. That was the advice. And I thought, I watch my calories. I became obsessive and downloaded more apps so that I could track what I was eating and track how many calories I was eating a day. It wasn't making a difference. So that wasn't helpful. Also, my thyroid numbers at that point were like 9 and 10 on the scale, on the average. And but she didn't feel like we should start meds. She wasn't convinced of there really being a problem with my thyroid, which, with hypothyroidism is typical to be able to easily gain weight and very difficult to lose weight. So anyway, we didn't really go any further with that. All right, so then for the next 4 years, my weight went up and down. And then I tried other diets, like the 4-hour meal something, or, I think it was more like the time restricted feeding. But again, what you eat makes a difference. You can restrict the time that you eat, but if you eat crap, it's not gonna make a difference. So that didn't. I guess I lost maybe 10 pounds, and then it came back on. So then we moved out of state, moved to a new state in 2018. My weight was between 200 and 210 pounds at that point. We decided to start a plant-based diet. I've been hearing a lot of things about that. Forks Over Knives, the whole book. Talked to people I know that do a plant-based diet. Had some concerns with what I was hearing about it. Like you have to take a lot of supplements because you do lack a lot of vitamins and minerals, which surprised me because you're eating vegetables, but apparently that is the case. So you still have to be careful because of the carb count. So I discovered that, anyway, before I get to that, I lost about 7 pounds within the first 6 weeks. And then that was it. The weight stalled. And then it started coming back on. And we stuck to this for 6 months. And I was miserable on it, to tell you the truth. That just was not for me. So went back to my doctor, my primary doctor again. So it's a new one. It's the one I had when we first moved out of state. She looked at my, she looked at my thyroid numbers and said, no, we need to get those under control. So we began the process of trying medication, levothyroxine, and taking blood work every 6 months. That was a nightmare. For 2 years, it was a nightmare. We'd get my numbers down. The next time I got my blood work done, the numbers were spiked. She'd increase the dose. The numbers would tank the next time around. She'd decrease the dose. The numbers would spike. So we did that for 2 years. Finally, she sent me to a specialist who said, no, you need to be on Synthroid, the non-generic brand, which is a lot more expensive, of course, but it did stabilize the numbers, and I've been on that for about a year and a half, I think. Maybe, yeah, about a year and a half. So that's what I'm trying to wean off of now. So anyway, but the initial doctor I was talking about when my numbers were spiking with her told me that once we get your thyroid numbers stable, you'll lose weight. Well, that didn't happen. It didn't happen. Okay, so 2021, January 2021, decided to go to a new doctor because I just didn't feel like I was getting anywhere with the current primary doctor I had. Now I have a new primary doctor, younger doctor. This is actually an office that is a teaching office, so you actually see an intern, and then the intern reports to the doctor overseeing the attending, and this is all within your appointment. So by the time you leave, you've had a decent assessment, and it's working really well. Well, she is the first one who mentioned intermittent fasting to me. So I thought, okay, I'll look into that. She also talked about talking with a nutritionist. So I said, all right, I'll look into that since I've never spoken to a nutritionist before. I was hearing some not so great things like what they promote. But I thought I would check it out for myself. So that's what I did. I set up an appointment. I mentioned on the plant-based diet about how vegetables have carbs. All vegetables have carbs. Some have less carbs than others. So the ones that are low on the glycemic index are very few. There's not much variety. So if you're trying to do a low carb diet and just on plant-based diet, you're gonna find it very limiting. And that's what happened with us. It was very limiting and we were miserable on it. But it made sense after I understood, oh, that's why my body wasn't adjusting. Because if you understand that carbs turn into sugar in your body. So if your body is just getting carbs and sugar, it's not going to do what it needs to do to help you burn all of that. It doesn't know what to do with it all. So that's what I learned. So before learning as much as I now know about intermittent fasting and ketosis and carnivore, I had briefly checked it out after she mentioned it to me, and downloaded an app and started with the 16-8. So fasting 16 hours, which is a lot of it's done while you sleep, and then picking a window of 8 hours during the day to eat. And I thought, and at first I didn't understand, I'm like, how am I gonna get 3 meals into 8 hours? That just seems like not enough time. Not understanding that I could technically skip breakfast, eat a good lunch, and have dinner. So I got frustrated with that, and I didn't do it for very long. And then I went and talked to the nutritionist, and she brought out the diagram of the plate, which used to be the pyramid. The standard American diet, SAD, which is a good acronym for it because it is a very sad diet. After all this time, did you know there's not a whole lot of research that's gone into that recommended diet on whether or not it actually actually brings results? I was astounded to learn that. Here we are, the American, I don't know what organization, I can't remember the name. Anyway, that organization that is in charge of, everyone's health, right? Putting out this diagram that doesn't produce healthy results. It's just crazy to me. Anyway, but that's what she said. She told me this. She said, if you follow this diet 80% of the time, you will lose 1 pound to 1.5 pounds every month. So it's very slow, but that's the results you should see. Based on what research, I have no idea. I would now go back, and if I could go back, I would have asked, based on what research, what reports, can you show me the studies? Because I've never heard this before. Well, Come to find out, there are no studies. I'm not even sure why she was quoting those statistics to me, but it's not true. So I did that, and over the next several months, no change. Weight just kept going up, and so now we're up to summer of 2021, right? I also within that time frame decided to try the Atkins Diet. Again, downloaded the app, kept track of everything I ate, low carb, low calorie, didn't matter. Did you know that there are hidden carbs in processed food? I just recently learned that. That's why that diet didn't work for me. Again, it's like you lose a little bit of weight, and most likely the little bit of weight I lose at the beginning of all of these different things is probably water weight. It's probably fluid, not actual fat. So once you lose water weight, and if you're not fat adapted, then it's going to stop working. All right, so September. So actually back up a little bit to summer, my weight had climbed to 228 pounds by August of 2021. I felt horrible. I felt tired, and even though my thyroid numbers were great, I felt tired, achy, about 20 years older than I really am. I felt like my body was just breaking down, and I was beginning to accept it. I was beginning to think in my mind, well, I'm over 50 now. I guess this is just the way it's going to be. My body's going to just start to break down, and that's just the way it is. Then, I don't know what happened, but in September, by the end of August, beginning of September, something just clicked, and I thought, nope, I'm still too young to feel this bad, and I've got to do something. So I started to search on YouTube for some videos on intermittent fasting and exercise, and sure enough, that's when I discovered I didn't approach intermittent fasting correctly the first time. I don't need an app. It's much more simple than that. I decided that I needed to do alternate day fasting. I needed to be aggressive because I had, close to 80 pounds, 75, 80 pounds to lose. And I was serious about this. So I started that day, fasting. I looked into Keto Diet, so high fat, low carb. And it was working okay. Still had to kind of wrap my brain around I had to erase some of the old stuff and wrap my brain around some of the new studies that were coming out about fat, heart disease, cholesterol, all of that. Check into that, because what we've heard for decades has not been backed up by science, which was very eye-opening to me to hear that. So don't be afraid to eat animal fat. It's a good thing. Our cells actually need it. So anyway, I started checking into all of that. Lost 25 pounds within the first 6 weeks. And let's see, just make sure I'm not missing out on anything. And then on the days I did eat, I only ate 2 meals a day. I skipped breakfast. I would exercise. Exercise was another thing I implemented. I found discovered that was absolutely necessary. You have to build muscle as well as lose the fat. So the fat stores, lower your fat stores. So exercise is the way to do that. So I started exercising because the energy level was going up. See, here's the interesting thing. Thyroid numbers were steady, where they should be, in the range. Yet I was still tired. I still felt like I did not have a lot of energy. So all those things kind of just clued me into something else is still wrong, and I need to figure it out. My doctors aren't helping me. I stopped seeing the specialist for my thyroid because it's just, there's a bigger story to that. But basically too, because I felt like I don't think this is the underlying problem. I think there's an underlying problem to why I'm having a thyroid problem, if that makes sense. And I'll share that in a minute, what I discovered. So in the first couple of weeks of changing this, doing alternate day fasting, eating a lower carb, high fat diet, my energy level just rose so much, and I was able, it was nothing to exercise every single day. And I would exercise in the morning before I broke my fast. And because I was just watching videos, listening to those who have been doing this, listening to the doctors, listening to Mike Mutzel, and just kind of absorbing as much of the information I could, and really just going with what I connected with and what I felt made sense for me. And so that was some great changes. So energy level went up. I started going from sleeping 7 to 7.5 hours a night with 2 to 2.5 hours of deep sleep to 8 to 8.5 hours a night sleeping with 3 to 4 hours of deep sleep. And that's continued to this day. That's my average of sleep. I lost 25 pounds in the first 6 weeks. So by November of 2021, I was advised by some of the online community to slow down the weight loss. Someone was concerned I was losing too much weight too fast. So that's when I decided to go to 1 meal a day, or what's referred to as OMAD. So I would fast 22 hours. So I would eat dinner and then wouldn't eat again until the next day, not eat again until dinner. But unfortunately, what I found, I did that for, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 weeks, it says I did. Yeah, that sounds about right. And unfortunately, my weight stalled. It stalled. And I still have more to lose. So by the end of December, I decided I need to go back to ADF, alternate day fasting. And then I found too, around that same time, I was craving red meat. Like anytime I wanted to eat, anytime I could eat, and days I could eat, that's what I wanted. I wanted red meat. I wanted a steak. I wanted burger. So I started looking more into Dr. Sean Baker, carnivore diet, Dr. Ken Berry. He started keto and then went to carnivore. So he's got some great videos to explain why he switched, and I connected with that. So pretty much now I do high protein, which is basically carnivore. So eggs and meat. So I do some dairy, I do cheese. Basically I do no vegetables. I do not eat vegetables. I can, it's not a big deal if I do. I just have to understand that those are carbs. So that's what happens. You know, we know what happens when I eat carbs. But it's not been boring at all. I still crave what I want to, you know, the steaks and the burgers, and I'm going to keep doing that for as long as it works. So I did that. I switched to that alternate day fasting, carnivore mainly, at the end of December. And as of March, as of this month, I've lost 45 pounds altogether, like from September to now. So the weight started going back down once I started alternate day fasting, because again, it keeps my body in ketosis longer, and that's what I need. That's the key to my weight loss. I've mentioned that in a video already. So my goal is get down to a healthy weight. So I'm 5'6", and from anything I'm seeing, and again, you know, I take what I see with a grain of salt, because I don't know how much research is really behind when they say, well, if you're this height, you should be in this range of weight. Okay, we'll see what happens. But what they're saying for me is a healthy weight is between 135 to 150 pounds. And that's quite a range. So I think that's that's probably about right, but we'll see what happens once I get close to it. Sleep is still, like I said, sleep is still great. Energy is still great. Exercise is still great. So even though I have that weight loss goal, I think I've already mentioned to you before, I have other goals in between. So like I'm trying to get off my thyroid medicine. So every so many pounds, I figure, okay, I've lost this many pounds, I can drop another pill. Struggling a little bit to get to that next goal. I might, I'm coming up on a month since I was able to drop a pill. Some people feel like you can just drop the medicine. It's just fine. I'm basing it on making sure I'm healthy and what my symptoms are. So if I get to the 1 month mark, I haven't quite reached the weight I was hoping to get to in order to drop the pill, I might drop it anyway because my symptoms are, I have no symptoms, none, as far as hypothyroid and what those symptoms are. I have none. So I'll keep watch on that. I have my blood work again in June, and then we'll see where everything's at. So anyway, that is it. That's the whole journey that I have been on. So it wasn't like last September I thought, oh, I'm just going to start this. It's been a long time coming. I wish I knew 10 years ago, 11 years ago, what I know now. Because I would be a lot healthier now. But it's okay, better late than never, right? And I hope that there's enough here for you to take away. Understand that we all have to figure out what works for us. Again, I want to mention, I'm not a doctor. I am not a medical professional. So please don't take this as medical advice. I'm sharing my journey. That's all. That's all I'm doing. All right? I hope you're encouraged. I hope you take today to think about how you can be strong and be fit and be healthy and be happy. And I will see you next time.